They say learning a new language gets harder as you get older. Japanese in particular has a reputation for being one of the toughest to master. Is it even worth it trying in your 40s? This is my journey of studying daily for the past 6 months. What worked, what didn't, the struggles I faced, and where I go from here. I'll cover the methods and tools I use, my daily routine, my comprehension level and achievements so far, struggles and lessons I've learned, no sugarcoating, and finally, my plan going forward. A quick heads up before we start. The script was written 2 weeks before my 6-month mark, but I've now been studying for almost a year. My views have evolved, but I've kept this version authentic. Check out my newer updates for the latest thoughts. Unlike some gurus who claim to have the perfect methods while still not being fluent themselves, I'm just sharing my real progress, struggles and all. Hopefully, this helps you avoid the mistakes I made. Every journey begins somewhere. For me, it started with becoming fluent in English as a teen in about 2 years. Yep, not my first language. My partner is Japanese, and if you think that would be an advantage, think again. We just speak English. I had attempted Japanese years ago, reaching advanced beginner, lower intermediate level, but I completely dropped it for more than 9 years now. On day 1, I had some vocabulary buried deep inside my memory, forgotten most of my kana, and knew 0 kanji. My only real plan at the start immersing in Japanese and undertake the main quest of learning 2,200 kanji. Beyond that, I'd figure things out along the way. Instead of relying on traditional language classes, I focused on immersion-based learning. Methods like AJATT Refold and Moe Way. While they differ in specifics, they're all based on the same idea. People acquire language subconsciously through comprehensible input, just like kids do. But unlike a child, I had access to tools to speed up the process. First and foremost, Anki, spaced repetition system, the most powerful weapon in my arsenal. Coupled with Heisigs or Heisigs, remembering the kanji deck to tackle the kanji beast, and core 1K 6K vocabulary deck to build comprehension. Anime, manga, and podcasts for immersion. For the past 6 months, my day looked like this. In the mornings, Anki reviews for kanji and vocab. Throughout the day, passive listening during walks, runs, and commutes. And in the evening, anime and reading manga for active immersion. Like any journey, the start was rough. I knew I needed to immerse, but jumping straight into the native content was a little overwhelming. Instead, I started with NHK Easy Japanese podcast, which helped me ease in, shadow sentences, and get a grammar refresher. Kanji study was brutal. I had no clear roadmap, tried multiple pre-made Anki decks, constantly switching, experimented with how many kanji to learn per day, pushing way too hard in the beginning. I was figuring things out as I went, and the lack of structure led to frustration and burnout. In the first 3 months, I ended up skipping 5 days completely, the closest I came to quitting. Slowly though, a routine was established, and I settled on doing 15 new kanji per day. That seemed to be the sweet spot for me. So, did I actually learn 2,200 kanji? I finished Heisig's book and can recognize all 2,200 kanji, yes. But recognition is not the same as mastery. Some kanji I know instantly, others take 5 to 30 seconds to recall, and some I completely blank on, even if I should know them. I still do daily kanji reviews, and I expect to keep this up for at least another 6 months. Was it a waste of time? Well, some days I think yeah. Other days, I realize I tried learning Japanese without kanji before, and that didn't work. Now, I can read simple manga and actually enjoy it. When I see new words, I check the kanji. If I do recognize it, I often understand the word meaning without needing a dictionary. That's progress. Talking of vocabulary, using Anki, I've relearned 400 essential words in the last months and now focus on reading. As a matter of fact, I finished the first 9 volumes of Yotsuba to, in English it would be Yotsuba and manga, understanding from 20% to 80% of what has been said, depending on the page. Stats so far: 250 total study hours, building up from 10 minutes to 3 to 4 hours of study daily, averaging 1.5 hours per day. 160 hours of that is in Anki, with 90% spent on studying kanji. 50 hours of listening immersion, 40 hours of reading immersion, Tadoku and Yotsuba to. Started reading Taekim's grammar guide. Finished easy Japanese conversation lessons from NHK World Japan podcast. Relearned about 400 most common Japanese words, and more importantly, their kanji reading. And the biggest achievement? I finished I6 2200 kanji. Looking back, what would I do differently? Well, I would not start without a structured plan. Instead, I would take my time and do research to have a clear roadmap from day one. I would not use inefficient decks like Vanikani 10K. Instead, I would settle on a minimum viable product, using recognition cards only for kanji. I would not overload myself and burn out. Instead, try and find your sweet spot for Anki. 15 new cards a day seems to do the trick for me. Also, optimizing the workflow, so setting new cards to appear after reviews in Anki, and doing all reviews first thing in the morning while the brain is still fresh. The biggest lesson of all though, if something doesn't work after 2 weeks of real effort, change it. Don't waste time forcing a broken system. With the kanji phase complete, it's time to shift priorities, focusing on vocabulary and more immersion. For the vocab, increasing Anki to 20 new cards a day until 2,000 words learned. For the immersion, 1.5 hours of active listening daily, 30 minutes of reading, and 1 to 2 hours of passive background listening. Are you also studying Japanese? Well, let me know of your progress, struggles, and any tips you might have in the comments. The road is long, but the progress is real. I'll be posting quarterly progress updates along with videos on learning techniques and the tools that I use. I'm also a gamer, as you can see from the channel, so watch out for some Let's Learn Japanese gaming streams. And if you are on your own language learning journey or thinking of starting, stick around. It's not easy, but if an out-of-practice guy in his 40s can do it, so can you. それじゃ、またね。バイバイ。